Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Field 12 podcast, Stadium, it's Michael Felder and his glorious beard. What do we got here? Little Charlotte FC. You're ready. You're coming home. Very exciting.
Yeah, baby. I'm coming home. I'm excited. So listen. Let's talk some football. Here's the thing. I don't want to derail anything, but I do want to ask Giglio this. A&M have more talent than UNC or not?
Do they? Yeah, they do. Does Texas A&M have more talent than Carolina? Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened?
Wow. That's the receipt you want?
Yeah.
You sure? Who was
Yes.
right? Who was right about the Carolina game?
I mean, they won, but they were bad.
I'm not accusing you of being a typical Carolina fan right now with me. How they typically interact with me. So what you're saying is when I'm right, I'm wrong. Got it.
Yes.
I got it. I got you. I got you now.
Felder chose violence right out of the gate. I love it. It's the OG alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovius. Well, to your point, you talked about App's identity, right? They know what they're doing. They almost pulled it off against Carolina in Boone. They did the damn thing at Texas A&M, right? So this gets to the larger question. It was a really good weekend for the Sun Belt. We know they play good football there, too. We know App plays good football. How long are these games going to get scheduled? Because I can't imagine this is good for the Power 5 schools and coaches who have to answer for this stuff.
No, it's not good for them. And I don't know if you guys saw the Yell leader.
We saw that. Yeah,
we all saw that.
Well,
it was one of the worst stand-up comedy routines of all time.
For context purposes, if you missed, this is important context. Texas A&M does this Friday night midnight Yell thing, and they stream it on the internet. It's like basically it's a pep rally where they go through some of their new cheers, and there's like some weird yoga poses and everything else. Do we have some of that from some of the comedy routine? So here's some of what was said ahead of the App State game.
I had to Google this team to make sure that they were even real. I was really confused because Appalachia is definitely not a state.
Appalachia? What?
But sure enough, I found them, and they're located deep, and I mean deep, in the backwoods. Just like you would think any hillbilly college that names themselves the Mountaineers.
Oh, okay, that's enough of that. And then, of course, they get embarrassed on Saturday. It's just chef's kiss, Felder.
I mean, it was one of the worst stand-up routines I've ever seen. Obviously, this guy, he's never going to win Last Comic Standing. Will not get a spot at the he's never going to go at your local yuck shop or whatever it is. So he's got some problems. But the reality of it is like your College Station is also like in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
So
not a bougie metropolis.
Realistically, I really it was really interesting to watch the way that App State controlled that game. Chase Bryce didn't even throw for 150, but guess what? He's threw for 40 more yards than their quarterback threw for. So I think the defense stood up, and the defense kind of, after they got their mind right, like after the UNC game, they were like, we have to play better, and they did, and they responded. And I think App State and the Sun Belt in general, because let's be real, this week the Sun Belt accomplished three things, and Georgia State was very close to accomplishing a fourth thing against UNC, but they accomplished beating Notre Dame, they beat Texas A&M, and then Scott Frost, they gave him $15 million
to get out
by
the paint.
beating by Georgia Southern beating Nebraska.
Michael Felder, Stadium, joining us here on the OG. That's Joe Ovius. I'm Joe Giglio. All right, Felder. The Tar Heels now get a week off. I thought their defense acquitted themselves at least a little bit better against Georgia State on the road. They get a week off. They get Notre Dame here. Notre Dame's going to have a different quarterback. I'm guessing Notre Dame's still going to be favored in this game. How do you see that matchup working out for the Heels?
It's going to be ugly, realistically. Like, the big thing for me watching this is like, here's what I think. If Notre Dame's defense shows up and they can make this a game that plays in the teens and the 20s, then they have an opportunity to beat UNC. But if UNC can make this game play, as we've seen over the course of their first three games, if they can play this game into the 30s to the 40s, Now we've got an opportunity for UNC to get a win over a Notre Dame team who, obviously, right now, nobody is super high on Notre Dame. They're an 0-2 football team. But they're still in – Julie, I'll go back to you. You think Notre Dame has more talent than UNC?
Not on offense, no.
Right.
I do
offensively,
not.
they're bad offensively, but
Yeah.
defensively, they are better.
Yeah. Notre Dame's defensive line is the reason – Notre Dame's offensive line, defensive line is the reason why so many of these teams in the ACC have trouble with them.
Right, because they got a bunch of big boys from Catholic high schools from New Jersey all the way through Ohio and Indiana, and those guys show up every day. But the big thing is can they score? And if you can't score, then you're going to have a problem. And that's the part where I think UNC is going to feast on these teams. UNC has a little, I'm not going to say they've got big Tennessee energy, but certainly this is a football team that wants to spot the ball, wants to play, wants to score, and Longo's going to find a way for them to score because, let's be real, nobody trusts this defense to get a stop at the end of the game.
Michael Felder, in the Bleachers on Twitter, Field of 12 podcast. You can check out in the Hand in the Dirt podcast as well for your non-football needs, and the newsletter where you get football takes and recipes. Shout out to our guy Mav Rick, who made your wings. The Old Bay and Chill wings, I think, were the ones that were made over the weekend, which I have to try at some point. About that defense.
You got to do it.
About that defense. Some people, I got into a conversation with Brownlow about this in the panic room. I looked at this as more of the same from the Tar Heels. And by the way, it doesn't matter the defensive coordinator. It just seems to be a recurring issue for North Carolina's defense. I was like, this is going to be a problem as the competition gets more difficult in the ACC. She looked at it as a positive. Like, hey, look, they bounced back from that 98-yard debacle of a drive. Like, the fourth quarter, they didn't have that as a backbreaker. I could see her point. But to me, I still am looking at breakdowns for the team that's too talented to have those types of breakdowns. So what is the miscommunication? What is keeping North Carolina's defense from being consistent at this point?
So they're 118th, right?
Mm-hmm.
In total defense right now. They're 118th. They're behind Northwestern. It's not good for them. I think that the breakdown is the communication. And what I mean by that is I think that when I watch a defense, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but when I watch Georgia play, even when I watch Alabama play, and I know Alabama wasn't perfect this weekend, but watching them point to each other and point things out and say, oh, over here, over here, over here, or watching, one of the best defenses that we've ever seen, watching whether it's Nakobe Dean or it's Ed Reed or it's any of these guys, watching them call the play out before it happens over, and communicate. Communication is key. If you're not all on the same page, and this is something that when I played for Coach Webster at UNC, one of the things that he always said was, if we're all wrong, we're all right. Which means if we're all doing the wrong thing together, we're still going to be okay. Like if we all get the call wrong and we all are playing cover 3, then we're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. But if half of us are playing cover 3 and half of us are playing cover 2, or half of us are playing cover 4 and half of us are playing cover 6, we're screwed. And with UNC, I think the big key is communication. Mm-hmm. These guys got to talk to each other. And it's one of those things, and I think about some of the really good LSU defenses. Obviously, we mentioned Georgia, mentioned Alabama. But let's dial it down. Let's go down a talent level, right, from these guys that have been historically great. Let's go to Wisconsin. Because I want to ask, do you think Wisconsin has better players than UNC?
No.
Right.
No.
But what do? They talk.
They communicate.
They talk. Same thing with Iowa. Same thing with Wyoming. Same thing with San Diego State. Same thing with Fresno State. Same thing with all these teams. They talk. They communicate. If you're not going to communicate, you're not going to get the job done. I don't think Pitt has better players than UNC. But Pitt's players talk.
Yeah, they do. Just poking Giglio today. I love it. I absolutely love it. Michael Felder in the bleachers. I want to do this every week. I want Felder to come on and just jab Giglio a few times. This is great. I love it.
16 punts for Iowa, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, they're really bad.
14
but
points.
the defense keeps showing up. Can you imagine the defense because here's the thing, if that was UNC, we would be talking about not just 16 punts, but 16 45-second 3-and-outs. And then the defense has to go back out there. And Iowa's defense they're like, hey, man,
gotta do it again.
Our other guys suck. We got to do it.
Do it again. Do it again.
We have to win the game by getting 2 safeties.
We got 30 seconds. Nick Saban got exactly what he wanted. 30 seconds. Nick Saban got exactly what he wanted down in Austin, right?
Yeah, he did. You're not good enough. You need to be better. You need these reps. You have to trust what I'm doing because guess what? When we call pedestrian plays, you guys aren't that good. Mm-hmm. So let's go to work.
Michael Felder. Check him out in the bleachers on Twitter. Field 12 Stadium. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.
It's the OG alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovius. He came after you, man. I love it.
It's not what he said on Twitter, by the way.
What?
When Carolina was up 20 on App State, I'm sorry. But now he's got the Texas A&M data. Whew, making me not like Jimbo Fisher right now.
Hey, man. Shout out to David Hale of ESPN, who had an epic thread today pointing out what Jimbo Fisher's biggest problem is. Can't get the quarterback right. If you look at the Jameis Winston's years at Florida State and then everything else, it's mind-blowing night and day.